If what you want is real, relevant hunting, you are in the right place. With moderator Josh Miller, owner of Triple Point Outdoors, co-hosts Kevin Cook, owner of the Outdoor Pro Shop, and Brian Keitlinger, athlete and creator of Left in the Field Outdoors. Welcome to the Reinvent the Hunt podcast.
All right, so we are back with episode 19 of the Reinvent the Hunt podcast. We have a really good episode tonight, and also pretty heavy, but also very real. We do not shy away from real things here in the podcast. I think that's part of what makes us different, sets us apart. We're going to have Hogfin Performance on later. We get them back around, but tonight we're going to focus on men's mental health and also family, marriage, kids, screen time, just the modern world and that sort of thing. I had a pretty awesome adventure this past weekend. My dad and I went down with bullfrog bow fishing, and a great time. Bow fished the heck out of those snakeheads down there. We spent 8 hours standing up on a boat trying to balance and get shots. Probably had 20, 21 shots at these things. For some reason, it was like the arrows went right where they were, and then high, low. I don't know how they did it, but we missed every single time. It was atrocious shooting, I admit, but it was a blast. We had fun. Somehow I sucked at it, and Dad threw a few, and Wolfpaw threw a few, and we all missed. So, I got to thinking about it. There's some physics involved I won't get into today, but I feel like there's ways to improve it. So I'm looking forward to next time. Honestly, we had 3 or 4 huge snakeheads we should have got, and just, I guess, made bad shots. But man, what a lot of fun. And it was grueling. We didn't sleep all night long, and had a couple hours in the morning and came back. But I'm glad to have you guys on tonight. It's a very special episode of the Reinventing That podcast, just talking real and men's mental health. And we want to reach people out there. And Brian, you brought up a second ago, people that are watching this in the comments, if you can comment about things, throw things out there you're struggling with, or you're dealing with, you feel in your life, especially when it comes to outdoors and it's mental health and so forth. We want to address those things even on another episode. So Brian, that's a great point.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of people out there who have different things and different needs, and there's not one that's too great or too small. Everything is important, because again, it's tough. It's tough every day. Well,
I think
doing what you need to do.
I don't know why. Recently I've seen I've felt it, and I don't know. I'm a pretty empathetic guy. Like I like to learn about others, and I like to learn about what they're dealing with so that I can support them in their struggles, because I know life's tough for everybody, including myself. And I think if I'm in an elevator, I want to meet people. I'm always like really open, and sometimes maybe people wonder why they overshare, but like I don't really find it oversharing. I find it being real. Some people are like, well, you're oversharing. I'm like, no, I'm just being real. We all are human and go through this stuff in our marriage, with kids, and screen time and mental health. And Kevin, I know you've been through this in your life, and you work on it. How do you feel about it?
It's definitely a crisis in this day and age, especially with this fast-paced life. Everybody's trying to just stay ahead in life. I mean, this economy obviously sucks. Just a bunch of different factors that play into it. I mean, I've been struggling with mental health since I was 14, and that's when I first got diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And I've been on medication since. I've been seeing a doctor since. I go every 3 to 6 months to see my doctor to keep up on it, to make sure everything's good. And now that I still work full time, I run a business, and I have 2 little kids, and trying to juggle all that becomes an absolute nightmare sometimes.
Almost nightmare. Yeah, I was gonna say that.
You both can relate to that. And
sure.
Obviously family time is very, very important. So juggling working full time in a business is definitely, it gets to you sometimes. And then not only just juggling it, just worrying about your own business,
Yes. Yeah.
Taking off, succeeding, treating your customers right, making sure everyone's, satisfied to the best of your ability. And it's just a never ending process.
You guys both feel like as men, and I'm absolutely guilty of this every single day, as men, we do it on purpose because we feel we want to be a provider, right? So we carry the weight of the absolute flipping world on our shoulders, and we try to meet everybody's needs, our spouses, our kids, our family, and be there for everybody around us. And sometimes inadvertently we put ourselves last in the list, not because we want to, but because we know it's the right thing to do as men. And I'm sure you guys probably feel that as well.
Absolutely. Definitely happens.
No, I know, Josh, we were in the same, profession for a while, and, as a teacher, you're dealing with, the mental health of, I had eighth graders, middle school kids, and dealing with your own family and everything, and plus being, the person at school that a lot of kids look up to, and coaching sports and everything else. I mean, yeah, and in all honesty, we're our own worst enemy. A lot of times we're doing far better than what we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah.
And our students and our athletes let us know that. Kevin, you probably can attest to this. We're our own worst enemy. The smallest little thing that we don't see go right, or well, that was, complete failure, or this or that. And we're constantly putting ourselves under a different microscope. And like you said, the screen time or the social media, is such a, for the most part, a facade of what everyone's daily life truly is.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Except for like, when you're posting from the tree stand and you're relaxed and you're calm and you're just taking everything in, and the noises and the silence, and you can have that alone time with your creator and just sit there and say, what, I'm doing my best.
Absolutely.
And that's what I need to do.
I think that's go, Kevin.
I just think we get so caught up in like wanting to do better and wanting to do this, wanting to do more for our life right now, but we don't take a step back and realize that like where I was a couple years, like last year, a couple years ago, like I'm doing 100% better than I was those years, but then I'm always wanting more, and it's never enough, and I'm always pushing, and I just don't take a step back to live in the moment.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Those are great points, guys. I know having you on here, there's a reason why we all came together. And aside from the great conversations we have with companies and products and things like that on here, these are real things that guys and families need to hear out there, because we all live through it. And I know, my own struggles with like, physically, I've always tried to be there for my family when it comes to my in-laws or doing landscaping or mowing or moving. Like I'm the moving guy. I'm the guy at the truck. You guys know what I'm saying? So like anytime someone's moving, you're calling Josh because he's going to be there for you. And I'll drop whatever I'm doing to help anybody around me. I know you guys are the same way, even if there's something I need to have done. And I think sometimes I've overextended myself so far that sometimes, and this is hard for guys, but sometimes you get abused, or sometimes you get used by that. And then in retrospect, you look back, and go, man, I just got kicked in the throat a few times, and that's difficult to understand. And then it plays with your mental health. So I think it's important to understand, like, we're in this together, but we're also here to do it together. That there's no, and leave no man behind, so to speak, and reach out and talk about this stuff, because suicide is real. Pressures in the modern day are absolutely real. I've dealt with it in my family. I've had friends that deal with it even currently. And it literally rocks my heart, Kevin, to understand that there are guys out there that live in this quiet desperation where they don't know what to do, if you know what I'm talking about. I think there's way more than what people understand.
Oh, it's so many more. It's so many more. I don't even think we can fathom. I think everybody, like to a certain extent, struggles from it. Like especially this day and age, it never used to, like this day and age is so fast paced, so much technology, like just trying to keep up.
Yeah.
It's just out of control.
And I think the guilt weighs on us all too, because, like with the screen time in our kids, like I'm constantly, like even now I'm doing the podcast, right? And I'm sure my son's probably on the iPad somewhere, and his mom's probably trying to get him off, or I'm throughout the day, we set from like 2 to 5 where you can kind of be on it, but then, not the rest of the day. And like, we're not good at that all the time. And, here we are using technology, but yet we are adults. But even like my parents said the other day, they're on it too much in the evening. And I think it's a really hard thing, because I think one of the, the Surgeon General or something just diagnosed, like, mental health and screen time as being a real epidemic or a problem in the world, not just in this country. So I think it's one of those side effects of the phones that we didn't see coming, that I think we have to really monitor, and we have to be cautious of, because I'm not here to tell people about it. I'm living it,
Right. No, we're the same way. We try to limit it, but every day is different. And I think we just need to take a step back and realize, like, not be so hard on ourselves. Like every day is different. Sometimes we just don't have the mental capacity to deal with everything. So the kids watch their iPad. I mean, it's in everybody's life. I mean, it's not just us. We just need to stop being so hard on ourselves. We're not letting our kids sit there and watch the tablet and not do anything with them. We're with our kids outside all the time, like you guys. So when they do get a little bit extra screen time, we need to not beat ourselves up about it.
Yeah. Well, that's the
So
hardest part.
It is.
As a,
It is.
because as a dad, and then you have kind of disagreements because, maybe, there are songs we're listening to or a TV show, and I think you have this, and even the outdoor industry, there's this really, because obviously politics involved in everything in life now, but like there's this really headbutt thing going on in the world, obviously our country, with like, what's acceptable and what's not, what's moral, what's not. And as guys, like growing up on a farm, hard work, being straightforward, communicating and being real are just really ingrained in who I am. And battling
Right.
through problems and battling through stuff is just part of I think the farm kid resolution. And sometimes like, our kids aren't really growing up that way anymore because like they aren't in the outdoors encountering those hard difficulties sometimes.
Right. I agree with that. Like it's definitely a fine line because you want to be nurturing to your kids, but you also want them to grow up to be tough because it's a tough world.
Yes.
It's not going to get any easier. It's going to get tougher. So it's like I find myself struggling to be like a nurturing parent, but not too nurturing. Like I want them to be tough and learn from their mistakes.
For sure. And I think to me, it goes back to, and hopefully Brian, you joined us here, but hopefully to me, it goes back to like that idea of over everything in my life. I try to always recenter it on moderation, like moderate what you're doing. Nothing's really bad. Screen time's not bad. Hunting's not bad, but if you just hunt and forget about your marriage, you're not going to be married real long. I mean, so anything we can do to moderate the stuff in our life, I think is really important, but it's hard to have moderation in the modern world for sure.
Right. I mean, screen time's a big one. Like I find myself on the screen way too much. Trying to, like I said, working full time, running a business. I get so many messages a day, people asking about guns and ammo and optics. And there's a certain time where, I'll respond to those when I'm in bed at night because my kids and my family come first. And most people understand that. But there's a certain point where my phone's off to the side. I'm not doing anything with it. I do enough during the day. I do a lot of gun transfers. So if I get a lot of messages, most of the time I'm responding to them at night.
I get that. And Brian, how do you feel about in your house? You have older kids now in college, obviously, and maybe getting out of college pretty soon. What's it like on your end? Maybe we lost Brian a little bit there.
Well, we always, no, yeah, you there?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Can you? Okay. Yeah, we started off our kids, with limited screen time and everything, but it's a double-edged sword because they were both in middle school when the pandemic hit and everything went to online learning. And so, they're online at school all day because the textbooks are online and this and that and everything else. So we really limited the amount of time that they were on any type of personal device. We didn't get them cell phones until they were older, to where like, we're with you most of the time. So, I mean, there's no reason to have a cell phone. As they started getting older, we, said, your grades are good and stuff, we'll get you cell phones. But again, we controlled with apps and stuff how much time they were allowed to have on it, what apps they were on, and anything else. My son being away at college, it's now different because we don't control that. And a lot of his classes and stuff, you're doing stuff online and everything. But yeah, there, you just have to, it's a fine line. Sometimes as the parent, just say, you know what, go ahead and
I think we lost Brian there for a minute. So he's had some Wi-Fi connectivity issues, but we'll get him back and roll with him. But I think he's right, Kevin, talking about that fine line and monitoring your kids and what they're doing. But, I have to admit, as I get a little older here, there's stuff going on in the world, like kids in middle school, about anything, music or sex or violence or drugs or anything online kids can get into. And you don't know totally what they're doing all the time. It kind of gives me a little fear because, like, you try to monitor that stuff, but you can't really 100% of the time be there. So you feel guilty then.
Right. Like, yeah, I can't relate 100% because obviously my kids are still younger, but that is my fear when they get older. Is I mean, and you obviously don't want to be, too controlling as well because that'll just backfire on you.
Right.
So it's just such like life in general is a fine line. But that is my biggest fear when my kids get older is how do you limit that but not be over controlling?
Absolutely. And I think,
Definitely.
we talked
Yeah.
about the Facebook, the Facebook lifestyles we all live. And man, I'll tell you what, like it lifts my heart, man, when I see you post stuff about your wife and your family and you're like, I don't want to get too emotional here because I do get emotional because I'm a guy, I'm real, but I love my family and my kids. And I love tucking my boy into bed every night. My daughter's a little old for that now. She does her own thing, but Easton needs me there every night to tuck him in. And it hits me right in the heart. And so when I see you post stuff about your family, like I saw something one time where people were like, why do people post all these pictures of their family and their kids and stuff? And it's like, because they want to remember that someday. They want to be able to go back to their memories and that's a life timeline. And it means so much when you post stuff because, dude, it's not the picture that conveys to me. It's the love I can see that you have and care for your family. I can feel you. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it basically mean the world to me. And we have a whole bedtime routine and everything at night. It's just I don't know, like it's just certain things. And then like I told you yesterday, like my oldest daughter, randomly asked me about hunting and wanting to get involved in hunting and when are we going and stuff like that. So it's just I love my family. The family's everything. So it's definitely we do feel guilty a lot of times when we're busy and we're not doing enough with our kids. It takes a toll on us. It makes me upset. Makes me upset big time when I don't feel like I'm doing enough with my kids, or like I get slammed with gun transfers after work until 7 p.m.
Yeah.
I try to not have it that way, but sometimes that's just the way the chips fall.
Yeah, and these kids today are being inundated. We all see it all day long, but like they're being inundated with messages and commercials and people trying to sell stuff and music and angles that we weren't really addressed with, as kids at that age. And I think it's really challenging, especially on families in general, but especially us as dads. Like we're always like riding that hard line between like how do I talk to my kid about this and when is it appropriate? How do I address this issue of mental health? When do we talk about people going to therapy and getting medication to help them stay focused on what they're doing? And I think it's something that we definitely need to be. It's like I don't think it's being I think it's being diagnosed more now because it's real and it was always happening. We just weren't recognizing it all the way.
Right. It just wasn't a thing. It was on a
Right.
thing back then. But,
Right. And guys always want to be tough because we're all the same person. We want to be the rock for our family. We want to be a resolute, and I think we're rocks, but we're also squishy rocks sometimes. The backside where you can get to our heart pretty easily.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Brian made it back on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having some internet issues at the house, so I drove up the road to where I have a
Oh, no.
yeah, like I said, we live in the middle of nowhere, so I mean, you're talking about screen time. A lot of times when we were home, the kids don't have the internet to use and stuff like that, so that just provides more time for family time. We're like, all right, we'll play games, we'll do other stuff because like no one can get on their phone or do anything else. So sometimes it's a blessing, to have stuff like that happen. And it definitely allows me to escape from work as well, because I tell my students and I tell the people I work with, if you email me or message me, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to get it. So, don't fret or don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's another point taken there. What you said, Brian, that is, I always make it a point, Kevin. I'm sure you're probably saying with the business, you always want to get right back to people and not have lag time and respect their time. Because you know how much you want respected in the same line of work. But I think sometimes people understand. I'm not the type of guy to never not get back to you unless there's something more important on the front burner, and that means family and maybe something in regards to my faith or whatever I'm doing in life with extended family. Like I'm always going to put family first, like you guys said. And so while I think people mold themselves and who they're going to be, we got to understand that there is a mental health crisis going on with men in this world because we put so much on our shoulders. And it's not to disrespect women. Women have the same thing on their end. I'm sure our wives are talking about how do we be the best mom in the world, balancing a career probably where most wives work in today's world, and you got to both throw in the pot because you can't survive if you don't. It's just a truth in today's society. And I think we have to respect each other both ways and make sure that that is moderated, because it starts with us for our kids.
That's definitely for sure. Definitely for sure. I said it's not the roaring 20s and the 40s and 50s where the man's the main breadwinner, and you can afford a house, a car, you can go on vacation or other stuff as in a middle class family, while the wife stays home and nurtures the kids and gets them ready for school. And we're that generation of latchkey kids, where both parents were working. You come home to an empty house, and there were expectations that by the time parents got home, things were done and things were taken care of. And it's just continued to go that way. And I would say snowball in a greater manner. And and you just wonder, okay, what are our kids going to have to deal with at that at that point in time when they're in their 30s and 40s and everything. Because I mean, nothing today is cheaper than what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah,
and
great point.
No.
Yeah, and it's not getting any easier, and a dollar doesn't go as far as what it used to. And and again, that creates a lot of animosity amongst the adults in the household, because of hey, what's the most important thing we need to spend our money on, and what should we support, and everything else. And for me, a lot of it that's based off of your faith and your relationship with God. There's a lot of times where my wife looks at me and says, you stressed about stuff? I go, no. She's like, well, you got this. I said, it's out of my hands. I've learned to just be like, all right, I can't do this all myself. In fact, a lot of times when I try and do things all on myself, I screw it up. And there's a lot of times where I just say, you know what, God will get me through it, and he'll tell me what I need to do, or how I need to do it, or what needs to go on. And I just keep moving through my day. Cause I mean, in reality, it's how much is really in our control, and everything. Because he's a big important part of my life. And there's a lot of start the day with scripture, end the day with scripture. And there's a lot of times when I need something, I sit and I read something and go, you know what are the chances that I was going to read that today when I really needed that? And it just works its way out. So I don't know. I'm a firm believer of just saying, it's out of my control. Here you go. That's just that's in the grand scheme of things. It's really how much are we in control of? We have free will to choose what we want, but how much are we really in control of what we do?
Absolutely. And I know I've talked to a lot of guys around me throughout this journey with Triple Point. And sometimes I wonder, was I supposed to do this, this business with Broadhead for the Broadhead? Because it's really cool. But then the second respect, I find that my connections to people, especially guys, and being so real and just feeling them and understanding and live life together, that's even beyond what I've been able to do with the company to this point. And it's bigger and beyond that, like with the podcast here, this platform. And so having those relationships across the world, all of us are the same. I'm going to focus on men because we're men here, and a lot of men listen to this. But how do we help those guys that are on the edge? I have friends that literally currently, to this second, as we're on the podcast, are dealing with their marriages, and they're dealing with thoughts that they're not enough, or thoughts that they shouldn't be here anymore. And I told those guys, like, any time, day, or place. I know sometimes in podcasts we give out a number for a call line, right? And it's great, it's beneficial, and it's helpful, and I respect all that. But sometimes it lacks that personal connection. And so I tell people, like, literally, my phone number is 330-231-1232. If you are thinking anything and you are at that point where you think no one on the planet cares about you and you need to not be here anymore, you need to call me. I'm not gonna get emotional
Yep.
with this, but like I would get emotional right now because I have guys in my life I love beyond anything. They're dear friends, and they are struggling through stuff, marriages or finances or family or kids. And I just want them to let them know as they see this podcast platform, reach out to me because I'm a talker and I love to listen too. And so I want to hear your story because you know what? I'm probably like you know?
Yep.
We're all more alike than what anybody wants to believe or what they think. We're all more alike than any of that.
Yeah.
And like
I,
you said, my number's listed obviously on my website. Call, text, I mean, email, like Facebook message. I don't care what it is. Anything, it goes all right to my cell phone. So anybody that's
Yep.
ever having an issue, you can always contact. We're always willing to listen,
Yeah.
talk, anything.
I've heard some, I've heard some incredibly awesome stories from friends. I've heard some absolutely heart wrenching, terrifying stories from guys and going through things in life, PTSD, military, family, generational stuff they've had to deal with and battle, marriages. And, I've also lived it. And so I just want those people to know out there, I'm 42, Brian, you're a little older than I am. You're more seasoned, I would call it. But I have full respect of you, man, because like you're in a place I've never been. So you have, I can learn from you. Like I can sit down and listen and understand. Like I don't want to. I think everybody's got a story, like Kevin said. Everyone has a story in this planet, and if we would get to the point where, like even in the outdoor industry, not to bring it into crossbow versus vertical bow, but my God, guys, like we're all hunters and we all love what we're doing. At the end of the day, it's not life or death. What's life or death is our family, our relationships, and the generational things we can pass on that are positive to our kids and not be those negative type of people. And, even when it comes to, things like politics, not to get too far into it in the podcast here, but my gosh, it plays a part in all of our lives right now. Being a teacher, being a business owner, I can't tell you how often I'm pressured personally to jump in the pool of politics with Triple Point, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. I'm here to manufacture a broad-headed cellular product that performs. I have some personal thoughts. I actually see things sometimes on both sides that are great and not so great. I see two candidates. I see two candidates. Yeah, both sides suck.
Yep.
Both sides create problems that they can solve. It's a big joke. The whole two-party system.
Absolutely, it's a tough situation in our country, and it's so fiery right now. You see all these just gnashing of teeth and clashing, and I'm like, listen. I grew up on a farm, right? I went to the city for college. I also, owned a business as a teacher for 20 years. Like I've kind of like had a lot of weird different hats in my life. So I get to see different perspectives. And at the end of the day, we're kind of all pretty much the same. We should, there's some life choices that we have that are different, but like, my God, respect someone's different choice in you. It's not going to kill you, and like I said, if you eat steak, I'm right there with it. If you eat tofu, enjoy it, but I probably won't eat that. It's just like my thing. So
as long as it doesn't affect me or the way I'm living, or you know what I mean. We don't. That's a story for another day. We just don't need other people's beliefs shoved down all of it.
Absolutely.
Just live your life. If it doesn't affect anybody, good.
I live the philosophy of you do you.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
So,
yep.
And people would stressed if they just worried about them.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing that's been lost over the last 2 decades is the fact that it's okay to agree to disagree, and at the end still sit there and respect each other. Absolutely. And that's just gone way out the window.
Yes.
And again, not to beat a dead horse, crossbow compound. We can agree to disagree, and at the end of the day, you hunt the way you hunt, I hunt the way I hunt, and we're good. But that's gone way out the window because people, I have been doing it long enough, and I sit there and laugh and say, this is that whole everyone gets a trophy generation, where well, I have to be right because I've always been given that. No, it's okay to be wrong, and it's okay for us to agree that that we have different ideas about stuff. But in the end, I love you for who you are. I love you for what you want to do. And if you be you, I'll be me, and everything will be okay. And I live in a pretty rural area, small school districts, school district and stuff. The majority of the people I know and I talk to and stuff like that, they're in the same ways like Kevin mentioned. And we laugh, both sides are in it together to create discord and disruption so they can, do other things that they want to do. And,
Right.
The sooner you realize that and sit there and say, okay, yeah, the accountability is on both sides and
Yes, sir.
both things. It's, your everyday people around you can sit down and chat with and laugh and sit there and go, yeah, I can't believe that they did this or did that. And you can agree to disagree. I
Absolutely.
don't.
I have family members that are like different political views than I am, but when you really sit down and talk about it, you guys are almost like the same common goal. It's just almost how to get there, right? It's
Yep.
you guys are more alike than what the media is telling you.
Absolutely.
Just
Absolutely.
sit down and talk. Just
Well,
sit down and
and
talk.
Yep.
at the end of the day, my filter, and I think this is really, really central to my life, but my filter is always is what you're doing at either side. I don't care if you're left, right, independent. I don't freaking care what you are anymore. Are you doing something out of love for fellow humans, or are you doing it to hate? And that's my filter.
Yep.
Do I see love? Are you walking the walk, literally of Jesus Christ? Are you showing? And I don't care what faith you are either. Are you doing something out of love for fellow humans, or are you doing it to hate on people? Because there's a clear distinction to me, and it's not hard to sniff out and understand. And when you see people that are doing things like you said to win a battle or do things like I want to do it, it's like, yeah, but you're not even seeing. There's a whole different opinion yours out there, and
Yep.
maybe you grew up in the city and don't realize it. Maybe you grew up in rural Killbuck, Ohio, and don't realize it. Well, I grew up on the farm, But you got to understand, watch that, filter, like, watch people and watch. Don't just listen to them talk. Watch how they walk. And are you seeing them
Yep.
walk out of love, or are you seeing them walk out of hate? And that's my filter person.
Good perspective.
Yeah. I've always said at the end of the day, why do we really care what two guys who have no idea who we even are care or do?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They don't know any of us. They don't know us by name. They don't care. In the end, what's it really matter? Why fight over, and argue over what two people we don't even know, when there's probably bigger things in life to talk about and look at and, be more productive, with your time and with your effort and, even getting into discussions and stuff like that. It just a waste.
Absolutely agree, guys. Well, I thank you guys for coming on tonight and doing this hard episode. And I want to let people out there know, not only do you need to reach out if you need some help, but reach out to us or put questions or comments in the comment box, because we do want to circle back around and talk about some of these things so forth as we go on through the episode. But this is probably one of those paramount podcasts we can do for not just men's health, but just family health in general in the outdoor industry. Let's bridge some gaps here and let's show people love and let's show people understanding, even if they are completely different than us. I'll take a person out. I like I said, tattoos, nose rings, different color hair. If you hunt, let's rock it. Let's go hunt some animals. Let's have some fun and have some shared meals together and learn about culture. Even though you may be different than me, at the end of the day, we're still all human and the same. So I thank you guys. I hope everyone likes, shares, and gives us a review for this podcast. But if there's anything we can do, please contact any of us out there. We're there to help. We're there to talk to you, and we're probably in the same boat, whether you realize it or not. We're there to share this life together. So please just understand this is a pretty big episode, but we appreciate you guys being on and talking about it tonight.
Absolutely.
Yep, much appreciated.
All right, we have some great episodes coming up. We're going to have Hogfin back on, and we're going to talk about Hunter Share the Harvest in PA, about sharing some harvest if we can get some meat out there to people that need it. Obviously, today is where we talk about the need for that. And then just a lot of cool people coming on, some targets to Sasquatch Outdoors. They got a great program. And then next month will be a lot of fun too, try to get a water buffalo hunting. So you guys have a great evening, and we'll talk to you soon.